Thank you for listening to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. This is Real Sports Talk for the Real Sports Fan. And I definitely appreciate all you Real Sports fans who are listening right now. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you. Please do not forget to give us that 5-star rating, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. That 5-star rating, will definitely be appreciated. If you're listening on the 3-Point Conversion Station on Spreaker Radio, thank you. The 3-Point Conversion Station is where fans' opinions matter. So if you think the show is hot, you think the show is unbelievable, it's great, please shout it out loud. You think the show is good and you're proud of that. If you think the show can improve, whisper it, but let me know. Your constructive criticism can definitely help me out. I want to be great at this, so please let me know what you think of the show, honestly. And I'm very excited about today's show. This guest is someone who I listen to every Saturday. And his show comes on at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. And for you guys who know me, I live on the West Coast. So that means I have to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and listen to the show. So it must be pretty good. And he is one half of the 3-Point Conversion Sports Lounge with Mr. Controversy. He is the intellectual. I always look forward to what he's got to say, especially in the What's on My Mind segments. He always brings a different perspective to that. Very excited to have him on the show today to bring his perspective to a various amount of topics we got today. How you doing today, D?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to be on the show, man. I'm glad you wake up early to see us, man. Listen to us. I'm sorry. Appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, there's no problem at all, man. Like I said, it's my favorite show. So, of course, I'm going to make that early wake-up call. Just take me a nap afterwards. I'll recover. I'll be all right.
Absolutely. We're just trying to be great, man. That's it. That's all.
So, for the people who may not be familiar with you, whenever I have a guest for the first time, I like to have a get-to-know-the-guest segment. So can you tell people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm originally from Chicago. Of course, representing 3-Point Conversion overall, but most importantly, 3-Point Conversion Sports Lounge. We tell it like it is. That's just how we get down. So if y'all listening here, please listen there. Y'all really appreciate it. As far as sports I pretty much follow every sport. Keep my ear to the ground regarding everything. My favorite sport definitely is basketball. With football close behind and baseball even far behind. As far as the teams that I like or dislike, I don't really dislike it. Well, I dislike everybody that's not a Chicago team. That's crazy. That's pretty much what it is, man. I grew up with the Chicago Bulls, of course. Michael Jordan, we know what that is. Really grew up a Sox fan because my grandfather really took us to a lot of them games. But as I became older, I became more of a Chicago fan. So it's a situation where it's the Sox or the Cubs, whoever needed the most. If the Cubs fighting for a playoff spot, I want them to win, but I do want the Sox to get one in. But I want all my Chicago teams to do great, man. That's it.
Okay, Chicago born and bred. And let's get into your Bulls for a little bit. This year they finished 27-55, and honestly, that was a better record than a lot of people expected them to have. Did you see anything positive you could take away from the season from the Bulls?
Yeah, surprisingly, I heard that the coaching didn't really like Chris Dunn's development. I actually liked it compared to where he was before. He was a top 5 pick, so him to be able to do what he did last year and to show the toughness and the grit that he actually has, especially on the defensive end, I was really positive on that. The rookie marketing, I think that was a great pickup. A lot of people raised eyebrows when they picked him, but he went out and showed that he's going to be a star in this league. Zach LaVine, I saw a little bit from him, but coming off that ACL injury, I could understand how he can have an up and down season, but I think overall he's going to get paid because it's a situation where you traded him for Jimmy Butler. You can't not have the kid. I don't like the fact that Mirotic came and just destroyed what we were trying to do. We couldn't even think the right way because he coming in shooting better than he ever have in his life, winning all these games in a row. He really messed up our draft position. But overall, it was a trying season. But if you knew beforehand, once we made the trade for Jimmy Butler, like we knew what the next 2 or 3 years were going to be, and that's what it is. So we starting from the ground. Hopefully, we can do something like the Golden State Warriors did and build it through the draft, and then sign a big free agent here or there and make our move.
Yeah, definitely. You have to look at it from a positive outlook. You got to start from somewhere. Jimmy Butler, I think his time had run out there. And speaking of Mirotic, I'm a Pelicans fan, so I appreciate the trade to have Mirotic come over to us. He definitely helped us out this year. I think he's going to help us out going forward.
And then he didn't just help y'all out, right? Like, he helped destroy our pick that we got from y'all, too.
Nah, that's true, yeah, because, he was a big part of that turnaround after Boogie got hurt. If it was for, honestly, if he wasn't there, we may not make the playoffs. So, yeah, that's a very good point. Now, with the Mirotic situation, did you want them to trade Mirotic away after what happened with Bobby Portis?
To be honest, I don't want to say necessarily him or Portis because of the situation. From the details that I got, I did understand that it was Mirotic that was kind of antagonizing him. But, we've seen it before. Players get into it in practice and they still become better teammates and they play better. So that may have, stuck around. But when it became a situation where, because of, you got to think about Mirotic, he has playoff experience playing with, the Bulls when they were in the playoffs every year, going deep into the playoffs. And he showed that with New Orleans this year. So having him on the team with this whole, and he also has the experience from being overseas winning. So with him with this team where it's rebuilding, it was kind of like, yes, let him go, but also good for him where he's not in a rebuilding situation and he can still show off his talents. So I like what we got in return. I didn't necessarily want to see him go as like he was a bad player or anything, but I did want to see him move on to help the Bulls rebuild in a better way.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that answer right there because it worked out for both parties except the draft pick part. But everything else worked out.
But even with that being said, the way that I think it's Dallas and somebody else is speaking of probably trading a pick, it may can work out where we can package our 7 with that pick we got from y'all and move up in the top 5. So maybe it'll work out. Who knows?
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what moves happen before the draft. It's always an exciting time of the year, free agency and the draft coming up for the NBA. We'll definitely get into a little bit of that talk as well. Now, let's shift over to the NFL real quick. Of course, you are a Bears fan. You guys went 5-11 last year. Wasn't expected to do much. You had a rookie quarterback. Wide receivers were non-existent. But you guys made some good moves in the offseason. How are you feeling about the Bears right now?
Oh, I'm feeling excited. I'm hoping that it could be something like Philly just had. That's a lot of expectations to put on a team, though, so you never want to go that far, but you definitely want something to happen. Last year actually was a little surprising for me because we weren't necessarily blown out of these games, right? It wasn't these blowouts that we thought was going to happen. And I think one of the reasons, which was a good pickup with Nagy, was making sure we kicked Vic Fangio. That was a great pickup. He really built our defense, and then we picked up a stud in the draft from the linebacker, Roquan, so that should really help. Like you said, our wide receivers were zero existence. We thought that Kevin White was going to do something. He did the same thing he's done the last few years. Meredith went out with that torn ACL. That was supposed to be a big year for him, so that really changed everything. Mitch Trubisky kind of showed, what he is capable of with running, using his feet. Sliding out of the pocket. We know the arm he has. He's really smart. He's really showing that. To get Nagy as a coach, that's huge. He brought in the guy from Oregon who's not really going to run the offense. We know Nagy's going to run the offense, but the guy's smart enough to be able to do what Nagy wants. We know, again, what the defense is going to do. We talked about Fangio. The pickups we got Allen Robinson. I think that's going to be a great pickup. I'm really excited about Burton. He didn't really play as much as you would have thought based on the salary that we paid him. But in an instance like this, you kind of take that because of the threat that he can be in that red zone. So if he comes in and can do anything for the next couple of years, I think we have a kid, his name is Sheehan, and he's like a Division III tight end. If he can come in and just learn behind Burton, then that would be great. We got one of the best running backs in the game. They were stacking a box on him last year, and he's still putting up numbers. We got a young Tariq Cohen who's a reminder of Darren Sproles. So with all of this firepower, we're looking for a big year. Again, I want to curb expectations. I don't want to go in and okay, we're going to be 13-3. We still playing in the tough division. Anytime Aaron Rodgers come back, you can almost mark Green Bay down for 10 to 11 games. with just Aaron Rodgers. So that's going to be big. You've got Minnesota, who has one of the best defenses in the game. They also brought in Kirk Cousins, so that's going to be huge. So, I mean, you hate to jump out there like that, but when somebody don't expect us to be like that, maybe we can sneak in and get some wins that's unexpected. So, again, I'm hoping big things. If we don't, we just build upon last year so that we can continue to build.
Okay, definitely. You know your Bears. That's one thing no one can ever accuse you of not knowing your Chicago Bears. Because the way you broke them down just now, you definitely know them. Now, I'm a Saints fan, so of course I was watching the game last year when the tight end, his name slipped my mind right now, had that horrific leg injury. Zach Miller. Has it been any word on him, or what are you guys doing in the tight end position to move forward?
Yeah, I think as a gesture of good faith, they signed him to a 1-year deal. I think it's one of them deals where if you can play, you'll make this. If you can't, we'll give you this. The injury was horrific, like you say. It was so horrific that they thought he may lose his leg.
Yeah.
So it would even be, great to see him walking, let alone playing. So, big ups to him. Even bigger ups to the organization for doing that good gesture just for the heck of it. They didn't have to. They could have said, hey, buddy, you hurt, or whatever the case may be. But he was big in the locker room. He was very impactful. So I think that even if he can't play, they may keep him around the team just as like a motivational support.
Yeah, that's great, because a lot of times you'll have these type of injuries where, in the team, they're not obligated to take care of the player. But in this case, they did. I know a few years back, you guys had a scary injury with Johnny Knox. So hopefully this is not, it's not a trend that continues for, the pass catchers of the Bears. But yeah, it was a nasty injury, man. I was watching at home, and the fact that they took the touchdown away after that, I was like, oh my God.
that was going to be my next thing. How can you take that touchdown away from dude, man? You got to let him get that, man.
Yeah, like even as a Saints fan, I was like, man, you got to let him have that touchdown, man. That's
right. And I know you spoke of Johnny Knox. If I'm not mistaken, I remember the team making sure he was there the following year on the roster to kind of make sure he could, transition into something else. So the last few years with injuries like that, they've been pretty solid on what they've been doing. So that's big, man. That's big.
Yeah, that's really big. Shout out to that organization, because a lot of teams wouldn't take care of players like that. They get that injury, like, oh, we can't use you no more. Cool. We'll see.
We got to go.
Yeah. So shout out to the Bears for that. So you mentioned that you like both the Cubs and the White Sox. Let's start with the Cubs, who are now 38-25. Does this feel like another year where they can maybe pull it off? Are they a top contender?
Yeah, I think we're definitely a top contender, especially, early in the season we really wasn't hit. And our pitching wasn't there. So it was a combination of both. But now we're swinging the bats. And one of the big things that I like is Jason Hayward is putting up numbers. He's batting .280. And if you know Jason Hayward, he's always been a 5-tool type of guy. He can play great defense. But even his batting average, even some of his best years, it was 260, 270, somewhere in that range. It never was like 320 or nothing like that. So for him to be putting up 280, he had a big hit last night to tie the game, wound up winning the extra innings. Just to see him putting together numbers like that, that's really good. As far as Chris Bryant, we know what he brings to the table. As far as Anthony Rizzo, we know once he starts heating up, there's going to be problems. We got Javi Baez out there. He's on pace to bat 270-something, 30 home runs, 90, 100 RBI. Hopefully he gets there. He's one of the best second basemen, in my opinion, as far as field, and he's slick with it. I mean, that tag is ridiculous. Like, you can never think you're safe when Javi's around. So that's impactful. Cal is doing his thing in left field. He's not the greatest on the defense, but we know what to expect. We know what to expect from him, and he's giving us what he can. We got a youngster in Ian Happ. He's doing big things. I like him too. Never can figure about Addy, slick field and shortstop. May not be having the power numbers that we're used to him having, but he's still batting about 280 right now. So that's enough for me. Everybody can't be Altuve or anything like that, putting up 330. So that's still good. We got Wilson Contreras, one of the best catchers in the league, and he's a young catcher. He's hitting, and he'll throw you out too. And what's really important is our pitching staff is coming around. John Lester is out there pitching like the John Lester that we know. Yu Darvish, he hasn't showed up for us too much yet, or Chatwood, but I'm sure it'll all be coming around. Quintana pitched a great game yesterday. He had 2 mistakes, and he paid for both of them with 2 home runs, but he got a no decision. Two runs in 7 innings, can't be mad at that at all. Cal Hendricks, we know what he's going to put up, low ERA. So I'm really proud of the team that they fought back and being a half a game up on Milwaukee now, and we got a big series against them right now, especially being one of our rivals. It's really important that we, finish out this series. Whether we win the entire series or at least make a split, we can leave the series at least being up a half a game on them. But yeah, we try to take off. Do I think it's going to be one of them years? So I hate to jump into that year, right? That year was like every game you could feel it.
Yeah.
Like every single game. It was like they're not out the game. It was just like a feeling that you just had, and it happened. And I don't want to say I don't have that feeling this year, but that's a special feeling, right? Like, that's one of them 72-10 Bulls seasons, right, where you're like, dude, they can't lose. And that's what it was. This year, we're still a great team. We're top team, one of the top teams in the league, but it's so many other teams out there doing things. You got Houston still doing things. Yeah, Kershaw's down with the Dodgers, but the Dodgers still one of the top teams in the league. You got the Braves surprising people. You can never forget about the Nationals with Max Scherzer, Bryce Harper, the things that they can do. So do I think we can win? Absolutely. Now, it would be great. But this baseball. It's 162 games, man.
Yeah, definitely. Still a long way to go. And you just gave more baseball analysis than the entire 2-year history of the show. Like, you gave, you definitely broke down the Cubs and much more in such a great way. This is why you guys should listen to the 3-Point Conversion Sports Lounge. Him and Mr. Controversy definitely know their sports. And before we move on to the rest of our topics, where can people listen to the 3-Point Conversion Sports Lounge? Can you tell them, sir?
Yeah, they can always catch us at the 3-Point Conversion. We're always on Facebook. We do that live. You also can catch us on the station app, WWWEAM 1100. You can also catch us on iHeartRadio, WWE AM 1100. That's Atlanta. Make sure you do the local stations. TuneIn app also, WWE AM 1100. And iRadio Now app, WWE AM 1100. Again, our Facebook. Even if you're in Atlanta, you can just go to 1100 AM every Saturday morning, 10 AM Eastern Time to 12 PM Eastern Time. And again, if you not here or can't get it on the radio, you can always go on our Facebook. We broadcast the show live, and it's set up nice, so it's well worth it.
Definitely, the Facebook is so good. The visuals of giving the highlights, the pictures, everything that's done during the Facebook Live is more than just your normal watching just guys talk. You're getting the visuals. You're getting the engineer who chips in with. He's very knowledgeable as well. You have a lot of things going on there at the 3-Point Conversion Sports Lounge. Happy to be a part of it. I'm a guest every once in a while, so I'm definitely somebody who is behind this show. And before we move on to the next topic, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on IG, Instagram at Kane, that's KANE _ Shy, CHI _ City. Again, that's Kane with a K _ Shy _ City. And you can find me on Facebook anytime at Dennis Pendleton. And you can find me on Twitter too. Don't use it too much, but it's the same as my Instagram, Kane _ Shy _ City.
Yes, sir. So I have a feeling where you're going to go with this next question, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to ask it anyway. Are the Warriors, after sweeping LeBron and winning their back-to-back championship, 3rd in 4 years, are the Warriors the best team of all time?
Right, and I'm sure you know I'm going to say probably 73-10 Bulls, right? But I want to go deeper than that, right? Because it's part of the issue we have with judging LeBron and Michael Jordan, right? The eras, right? Like, who knows what this Warriors team would have been in the 80s or 90s? Who knows what them Lakers or Detroit or them Bulls teams would have been in these 90s? So, 3 out of 4 is like ridiculous, right? Of course, we know that's ridiculous. That usually doesn't happen. But they haven't even done a 3-peat yet. They were 73-9, and didn't win. So that 72-9 what was the quote? Don't mean a thing if you don't have that ring. So that's impactful doing that. And they won them 4 in a row. Hey, we may be having a different story. But then you also got to put a lot of other things into it. Now, I don't want to take away from the fact how they built their team, because they built it the correct way, as I spoke on earlier. They built it through the draft. They drafted Dre. They drafted Steph. They drafted Clay. The only big signing they had was Kevin Durant. I don't say Iguodala was a big signing, because at the time he was kind of a big signing, but he wasn't a 30 points a game or a perennial all-star. He had made all-star teams, but he wasn't necessarily the missing piece. He turned out being a missing piece, but I think they had a lot to do with Kerr starting Draymond Green and putting Iguodala on the bench. I think that was a bigger impact. You got a lot of teams, man. You got the Lakers with Worthy, Abdul-Jabbar, Scott, and Magic Johnson. You got those bad boy Pistons. You got the Lake Show with Shaq and Kobe. How great they were. But to do what they've done, it's a lot. But like I say, that even in the Houston series, people say if Chris Paul hadn't went down, they would have lost. But then I also go to the point where if Iguodala had went down, who said we would even win the Game 7? I think that they're a great team. I think they can go down as one of the best. I don't think they're one of the best ever, because of the impact of not having to have, for instance, that one dominant ball handler, right? Because I think that opens up what everybody else can do. I think that's one of the big impact. But it's not a knock to them, because that's what a lot of people may take it from. No, it's not a knock to them. I don't hate them. I don't like them. It's either or for me. They're a good team. I just don't think they can. They're one of the best right now. They are the best right now. But you ask me this question in 2-3 years, and they putting together a 4 or 5-peat. Hey, it might be a different thing 2-3 years down the road.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And for me, it's hard to judge this team because it's two different teams during this dominance. You think about the first 2 years, pre-KD and post-KD, that's two different teams. When they won their first championship and then they came back with a 73-9 year, that team had a chance to be the best ever. This team right here has a chance to be the best ever. And honestly, I think last year's team was more dominant than this year's team. You think about last year's playoffs. One of the reasons people like myself were so upset about Kevin Durant joining Golden State is the fact of how they swept through the playoffs. People forget last year they swept through the first 3 rounds, and then Cleveland got one game in the finals against them last year. This year, like you mentioned, they had to go 7 against Houston. But like you said, if Iguodala's healthy, maybe that doesn't help them. Or if Chris Paul's healthy, maybe Houston wins. You never know. But because of that, because there is that if factor, they don't have that same dominance as the 72-10 Bulls, who had the 2 different three-peats, or those 80 Lakers, or even 80 Celtics. So it's hard to say they're the best team ever, but they're definitely in the conversation. And like you said, if they mess around and win 1, 2, 3 more championships, then you no doubt have to put them in that conversation, because we haven't seen a team win 4 out of 5 and 5 out of 6 since like the 60 Celtics. So if that happens, especially in this era with the amount of talent in the league, you have to give them that nod at that point. But it's going to be hard to keep this team together. We're already hearing, rumors of Draymond saying he's not going to take a pay cut. And, I have my own opinions on Draymond, but he is a really good player. He's a really good player who does deserve to get paid. Now, does he deserve to get the crazy supermax that, the Russell Westbrooks and Steph Currys have gotten? No, he doesn't deserve that, because he's not a guy who can carry a team. He's a great piece for this team, though. Like, for this team in particular, he's an awesome piece. And he does deserve to get paid. But for him, I picture him as a guy who probably believes he can go to another team and be successful, because he's very confident in that way.
If he goes to the other team, he don't do it.
Yeah, that's what I would think so too. Like, I think if he goes to another team, he will find out how hard it is to be successful when you don't have, 3 of the top 10 shooters of all time playing with you. Like, it's very different when you're playing with other teams, when you don't have that much talent around you like that. So I think this team does have a chance to become the greatest of all time. Time will tell. But speaking of this team, Kevin Durant is now...
Hold on, let me piggyback something on that, because I know a lot of people do this, right? And they talk about all the all-stars they had on their team, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to think about the other champions, right? You got to think about the Lakers, the Celtics, even the Pistons. There was a lot of all-stars on them teams, man.
That's very true. It's very true.
You know, and so I don't want no one to take nothing away from them. I want everybody to remember that most teams, like we always talk about, whether it was Boston that started the Big Three or LeBron. Yo, Big Three's been around for a minute, man.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the only difference with this team is they had a Big Three already, right?
Right.
And then they got the second best player in the league. I don't think we've ever seen that.
That was definitely the biggest thing.
Yeah, so like this is the equivalent. Say when in '96 when the Bulls beat the Magic in the Eastern Conference Finals, swept them.
Right.
And Shaq would have joined the Bulls. Like that's the equivalent of what this is. And we've, like I said, we've never seen anything like it. That's why it's so different. It left, especially last year, it left a bad taste in my mouth. Like he just joined them and just won a championship, and it was that easy. It just didn't feel natural. It didn't feel good as a fan to watch that. And this year they had to work a little more, but it still left a little taste in my mouth. That's like, a little sour.
I mean, bro, the finals weren't even sellouts.
Yeah. That's saying something, because no matter the prices, if it's a good game that people are expecting, they're gonna go pay for it and watch it just to be a part of the event, just to say that they were there. And the fact that the finals games weren't sellouts, that really tells you a lot about how people thought of the finals. Like we knew, okay, whoever wins the Western Conference is gonna win the finals. Even though I thought if Houston won, it'll be more interesting against Cleveland. I thought that series could have won 6, but with Golden State, we didn't know.
I don't know if, and I hate to say this because Houston did their thing, right? Like, I was nervous with LeBron playing against Houston because there was nobody that could do anything against him. Not to say that Golden State had somebody, but because of how smart and disciplined and high basketball IQ they had, I knew that they would figure it out. I'm not so sure about Houston, man.
That's a very good point. I brought that up on a previous show when Houston, of course, was still in the playoffs. Say if they play against LeBron, they have no answer for him. You know, you're going to have Trevor Ariza on him, and he's going to try hard. He's going to make him work. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to stop LeBron. And once Trevor Ariza's off of him, who you going to put on them? Maabute? Like you,
exactly.
like you don't have anybody there. Golden State is different. You got Draymond, you got Kevin Durant, Iguodala when he's healthy. So is a different. And plus, they just knew they've been there before. They've been against LeBron before. So, yeah, it was a different story. That's a very good point. And speaking of Kevin Durant, he is now one of only 6 people to win back-to-back Finals MVPs. It's a very, high up there honor. Something that puts him in the upper echelon of playoff performances all time. Where do you have him ranked all time? Is he ahead of Kobe? Is he not close to that level yet? A lot of people have Kobe in their top 10. Do you think KD has gotten into that upper echelon of all-timers?
I don't think so, right? And I'm not going to say because he doesn't have the ability to, right? So what I want to point out is that year that Russ was hurt and KD had to carry that team. Think about that team.
Yeah.
They ain't have nobody. But he got him to the playoffs and he did his thing. Okay. I rank him top 20 now. I don't rank him top 10 because there's a lot of people that you can throw in that top 10. I don't rank him above Kobe right now because of unfortunately, it's because of the move that he did with going to Golden State, right? I can appreciate you wanting to win championships and wanting to learn differently because I was reading the article about him, and it was not just about championships. He wanted to definitely be in the Bay Area for Silicon Valley to build his business ventures. He wanted to learn another side of basketball that would challenge him other than him just scoring all the time and playing one-on-one basketball. I get that. So this is what I've been saying and what I would expect from him. If and everybody's legacy, right, can have a different meaning to them. And I think that that's what becomes important. So to me, if we're speaking on his legacy, for him to get up to that topper echelon that we're speaking of, right, to be around a Kobe, a MJ. But let me quote this before I say this. He has previously said that he is not chasing anyone's ghost. He's not trying to be necessarily better than LeBron or Michael Jordan. So I just want to put that out there. But for him to do that, he would need to go back to OKC and win a championship, or he don't have to go to Washington, but going to a Washington team or a team like that and winning the championship for them, I think, or I would even say this, if he can go to the finals, he doesn't even necessarily have to win it, right? Make it competitive, do everything in his manner, right? I think if he can do that, then that will take his legacy to another stratosphere. You think about it with LeBron. When he was in Cleveland, I considered them his college years, right? And then when he went to Miami, he kind of grew up. But then he went back to Cleveland when he was a man, right? So let's say KD learned basketball again. Not to say he never knew basketball, but, learn and Golden State way, which is high IQ, way to play basketball. If he take that to another team and do that, I think it would do wonders for his legacy, in my opinion. But I definitely think he's top 20, arguably top 15, but I don't think he crossed the top 10 yet, and he has not passed up Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I had an argument with one of my friends the other day about Kobe, and when I thought about it, KD doesn't have any of the defensive accolades of all the people we think of as top 10. You think about MJ, former Defensive Player of the Year, several all-defensive selections. Kobe, several all-defensive selections. LeBron as well. Akeem Olajuwon, somebody you might be in your top 10, maybe considered the greatest defensive player of all time. He doesn't have any of that now. I do believe he's a really good defender now, but there were points in his career where he wasn't thought of as a great defender, which he always should have been at 7 feet tall, who can move like a guard. So it doesn't have those defensive accolades of those top 10 guys, and that's one of the main reasons I don't put him in the top 10 yet. But I do agree with you that if he goes to another team and is able to carry them to the finals or win a championship, that definitely would put him in the top 10. Because imagine if he would have done this in OKC. In OKC, he takes down LeBron, he takes out Golden State, and he wins championships. No debate. He's in the top 10. Right now, he did that.
And then you have that argument, right? Like, is he the best in the league now? Because even though he won this, I still don't put him above LeBron James.
No, because you can't tell if he's the best. Like, when the thing is, he may be better than LeBron. He right now may be better than LeBron, but we can't tell. Like, when you have the best shooter of all time and Steph Curry and a 2-time MVP right next to you, Klay Thompson, who's probably a top 10 shooter of all time, great defender, Draymond Green, Defensive Player of the Year, somebody who also can get you 7 assists a game, Iguodala Finals MVP. You have all that around you. It's hard to tell how great you are. Like, we know you're great, but how great are you? We can't really put a distinct number to that. It's hard to specify how great he really is because we can't see it.
And that stank is going to always be there, right? That stank where you were up 3-1 and you told Steph and Klay don't worry about it the other day when they were shooting horribly and you had that big 43, 13, and 7, if I'm not mistaken. Why couldn't you tell Russ one of them games don't worry about it, or the rest of the team don't worry about it? I can pull us through. I can do this. Like, you were down 3-1. Like, if you had did a 1-1, which is what he's been doing, he could have did a 1-1 with Oklahoma City. Then if he had left and joined Golden State, I probably wouldn't have been as disappointed in the situation. But to be up 3-1 and not even attempt to try to get them the following year, that kind of comes off weak, man.
No, it does. Like I said, I'm right there with you on that. I was so disappointed after that move. And we all knew as basketball fans what was going to happen the next year. Like last week on the show, I said sports is like Christmas. Like, at least make us believe in Santa for a little bit before you just snatch that belief away from us. When KD joined Golden State, it's like telling us Santa ain't real. Like, we already knew who the champion was going to be before the year started. And like I said, I understand he says all the things that he made the move for wasn't to win championships. It was his relationships with those guys. He loves the way they play basketball. And all that's true. Like, he probably does love the way they play basketball. He loves not having to carry the load like he did in OKC. And plus, I can imagine playing with Westbrook drains you a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
But even if that's the thing, when he was in, I didn't mind him leaving OKC. That's one of the things that people get mixed up with me. I didn't mind him leaving OKC. I was actually rooting for him to join the Clippers. And at that time, you think about Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. If he joins that team, they could have a legit chance against Golden State and Cleveland. And I think that would have been different than him joining Golden State because the Clippers hadn't got over that hump yet. He would have been the difference maker. And with Golden State, even though he is the best player on the team, he's still thought of as the ultimate luxury.
Yeah.
And it's just...
And I think... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I think another thing that played impactful on him leaving is I think he looked at ownership, right, and the front office, right, because you got to remember they lost James Harden for about $6 to $8 million. I think the difference in the contract of what he wanted, or even the max for what he could get at that time, was like $8 million less than what they were offering. And then that happens, and then other things happen within the organization. So they gave Serge Ibaka this much money, and he didn't do anything. And they made little trades that really wasn't impactful. So it's kind of like he may have even looked at ownership, like, you know what, you guys don't even know what you're doing. So I think there was a lot of things, but I definitely think championships played into it too, though.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. And let me just go on a tangent about Serge Ibaka real quick. How does man keep getting paid like this?
Yeah, I have no clue.
Oh, man,
he's made a lot of money, man.
Yes, he's made a lot of money. And I understand, like, he was... When the Thunder lost to the Spurs, I'm trying to remember which year it was. They lost to the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals one year, where they were up 2-0. He got hurt. And then they went on to lose that series. He, I believe, has turned that into hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And he's nowhere near the player he was when he was younger. And the thing is, he's not that old. Like, he's only like, 28? And
yeah, but he can't hit the three like he was hitting. He's not rebounding like he was hitting. He's not defending like he was hitting. So it's like, dude.
And Toronto just, put out a blank check, like, what you want, Serge? We got you.
Exactly. And look where they at now.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't understand it. But let's move on from Kevin Durant and our Serge Ibaka just talk right there. And go on to the person that Kevin Durant was a part of beating, LeBron James. Now, LeBron is a free agent. Do you believe he should stay in Cleveland? Or if he should go, where should he go?
He can't stay in Cleveland. And the reason he can't stay in Cleveland is because he can't win. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was lucky to get out of the East this year. If Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, if Kyrie wasn't hurt, they wouldn't have won. Gordon Hayward, I don't want to say Gordon Hayward. The reason I say that is because the way them two young stars, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, grew up, that was beneficial. I know it cost them Gordon Hayward, but I think it was well worth it. He has to leave. He can't win there. They have no money, but I attribute that to him because LeBron, the GM, was probably one of the worst GMs we ever saw. He wanted Tristan Thompson to get the max. He got the max, and now the NBA has changed so much where Tristan Thompson isn't even a difference maker. He wanted Kevin Love to get the max. He got the max. And I can't say Kevin Love didn't show up because Kevin Love did all that he could do. But Kevin Love is who he is. And it seems like some players, I think Bosh went through the same thing first when he got with LeBron, is they kind of go through a thing where they're not that player that they were. That goes into a lot of reasons. LeBron may not get the ball when you're used to. When you get the ball from LeBron, it's probably going to be 6 seconds left, and you're going to have to hit that shot, or you're going to be set up. You're going to be more of a set player. But they can't win, okay? So I don't think he should stay there. Now, the next question is, where should he go? So my number one spot he should go, and I actually, heard him somewhere and kind of listened to it and put things together, I would say Boston.
Wow.
So there were rumblings that Kyrie may leave Boston next year and go to New York. We all know he's from New Jersey, so that kind of would make sense. But would he leave a winning situation like that to go to New York? Who knows? But I would probably say Boston is one spot, and if Kyrie don't want to be a part of them, I trade him back to Cleveland. Remember, this is a business. We're not here to make friends. We're here to win. And if you put him on that team, then that's ridiculous. You do have a lot of wings, However, the NBA is a wing-oriented game now. Like, you can put, like, the way the game is now, you can put LeBron at the 5 against that half the 5 lineup, and Boston is going to be there playing against Golden State. LeBron at the 5, you could put Tatum at the 4, Hayward at the 3, Brown at the 2, and Rozier at the 1, and you probably going to have a good series. Of course, it's a lot of different pieces that would have to go there. If he don't go there, I would probably like to see him somewhere like San Antonio, if he can play with Kawhi. I heard rumbles about that they're trying to form a super team. Maybe him and Paul George somehow get over there with Kawhi. Again, you still got a lot of wings, but that's kind of where the game is going nowadays. They got that young point guard, so that wouldn't be bad. Danny Green's under contract probably for a little bit of nothing. Everybody that goes to San Antonio kind of get in where they fit in when it comes down to the money. Those two teams are the biggest that make the most sense for me. I don't really see them in Houston or even like them in Houston because James Harden isn't a spot-up shooter. James Harden isn't a one just to go sit over there. Now, Chris Paul and James Harden made it work, but LeBron's a different breed. He's a whole different type of ball game, so I don't really see that working as much. It may can work though. Don't let me say it won't, because if they get him over there, they're gonna figure it out. But I don't want to see him to go to the Lakers, because I still don't think if him and Paul George went to the Lakers that they could beat Golden State. I don't even think they can beat Houston. They still got a lot of young players, and that's a big change for him. If it's not going to be just about championships, then maybe he will go to the Lakers off the court, get a little brawny, in better high schools, better AAU circuit, things like that. So that may be impactful for him. But if it's about winning, I can definitely see a Boston, San Antonio. And don't let me not forget Philly. Philly gonna have a lot of money because they don't have to pay none of them kids yet. If you get him running the point or bringing the ball up, and get Ben Simmons in the post or closer to the rim, because we know his jump shot is not really on anything, and then get Embiid in that post. And I think what he'll bring to them is stability, experience, and kind of, showing them how to go about things. So those are some of the places I think he will go. And I think actually this year, I think it's going to be a quicker decision than we've seen over the when the times he did leave. I think it's going to be a little faster than the previous years.
I definitely hope so. I hope we're not still talking about this 2 weeks from now, because it'll be exhausting. We're going to run out of things to say. But I definitely am intrigued by some of the things that you said. The Boston thing is crazy. I think if he went to Boston, I think it would just be to make Kyrie mad. Like, oh, you thought you was leaving me, huh? You thought you was gone?
Yeah.
You thought you'd get away from me?
Yeah.
Nah,
Come
you
here,
can't.
little knucklehead, put him in the headlock and put numbers in his head and stuff.
For real. Like, come here, kid. You know he was calling him kid the whole offseason. So, yeah, that would be crazy. He went to Boston. I actually think he should stay in Cleveland. Now, a lot of things that you said are true. It's going to be hard to win in Cleveland. But at this stage of his career, I don't think he should go and join someone else's team. Like, with Houston, that's James Harden's squad, right? Mm-hmm. And why would he go join, James Harden's going to be the MVP. Go join the MVP's team when you're in the argument for the greatest of all time. Don't go join the MVP's team. Have other players come join you and see if you can make it work. Now, with Cleveland's cap situation, I know it's going to be hard, but they definitely will try their best to make LeBron happy. And maybe he shouldn't have his hand on any decisions. Like you mentioned, Tristan Thompson, that's on him. J.R. Smith, all the Henny in the world, that's on him. So you have to make sure that he's not making the decisions, but he definitely has to have an influence on them. If he does leave Cleveland, I would love to see him go to a place that would shock the world. And it's not just me being selfish. This is just something that I would think would work. The Pelicans. All right, so Boogie's a free agent. You don't sign Boogie. Let Boogie go. That frees up. That's a lot of money that we can give to LeBron. Think about the lineup. If we re-sign Rondo, you got Rondo, Drew, LeBron, Mirotic, Anthony Davis. Then you have Antoine Moore coming off the bench. That team right there could compete. Made it to the second round of playoffs this year. Swept Portland in the first round. The championship potential is there. go to a situation that people don't expect you to go to. I think that would be kind of dope. But
I agree with that. I can't get mad at that either. That starting lineup you just put out there is ridiculous. And then Etuan Moore coming off the bench, he could play the 1, the 2, and then depending on the lineup, a 3. He's strong. He's from East Chicago. Shout out Etuan Moore. You know, and like you said, field the lineup. You know, you field the lineup after that. You got LeBron on the team. Anybody willing to come and play?
Definitely, that's what I'm saying. And him and Anthony Davis together would be just nasty. And with, like I said, you may have to, with Rondo being a non-shooter, you may have to adjust things there. Maybe you put, Ian Clark in the starting lineup, but you would make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
but Rondo makes that ball move, man. He make that ball move.
He does. He was a huge part of our playoff success. He had games where he had 15 plus assists in the playoffs. So I definitely don't want to lose Rondo. But if we get LeBron and lose Rondo, then it's cool. But but I definitely don't want to lose Rondo. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting, man. You make some good points, but I think he should stay legacy wise. And to your Lakers point, another reason I don't want to see him join the Lakers is the Lakers already have a legacy. Like right now, their team doesn't have a legacy, but as a franchise, they already have a legacy. For a player as great as LeBron, why would you want to join the legacies of the Shaqs, Kobe's, Magics, Kareems, and Worthies? When in Cleveland, you're the foundation. You can be what starts a great franchise. Like when we think of Chicago, we think of Michael Jordan. That's one of the reasons we think of him the greatest of all time, because he helped build that foundation to whatever else they have down the line. It's still going to come back to Jordan building that foundation. Same with Cleveland and LeBron. Why go join LA and just be a part of their success, a part of their history? Like, they're never going to love him as much as they love Kobe. Never.
I agree.
So I don't understand why he would want to go there. And if you go to the Clippers. Like, if you're going to go to LA, go to the Clippers and help them build something and change their whole franchise. Right. That would be, like, if you win a championship for the Clippers, you're the GOAT. Like, his
legacy changes again.
Yeah, definitely. But if you join the Lakers and win a championship, you're just another, like I said, cog in the machine of the Lakers. It's not building your own thing. So I think he's too great of a player to join that legacy.
Absolutely. I agree with that too.
Now, speaking of great players who have legacies, let's move on to football. Terrell Owens, who is now a Hall of Famer or a Hall of Fame inductee, will not be going to the Hall of Fame induction ceremony for pro football. Do you think he is wrong for not going to the ceremony?
So I don't necessarily think he's wrong, right? So T.O. was one of the best players ever. I'm not even going to stick to just wide receivers, right?
Yeah.
I think in total actuality, he's like top 3 in receptions, touchdowns, and yards. If not exactly top 3, he's somewhere around in those areas for those. And that's what wide receivers are made for, right? He was a no question. Only argument would have been, is it unanimously first ballot, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. So I know that he's mad about that. He's fuming. And I can agree with him. I can understand him not wanting to go, right? But what kind of happens with that, right, is that the media who picks that, they kind of are able to say, see, this is why I didn't want to pick him. This is why I didn't want him in. I heard another player say, another player that's in the hall, I think he said how the other players are going to feel. But, I mean, on that part, where are the other players when I should have got picked last year? Did anybody necessarily speak up? Did they speak up on my behalf to that point? Now, you may have saw some speak up. I heard Chris Carter spoke up a little bit, but he kind of told them, well, I had to wait too. Well, Chris Carter, you was a great wide receiver, but I don't think you were better than T.O.
Facts, yeah.
You can't, right, so you can't say I had to wait too. Excuse me. I don't think he should have had to wait. I can understand him not wanting to go. If it was me in that situation, I think I would go more as I told y'all I deserve to be here. From the beginnings he came from, if I'm not mistaken, he went to Tennessee State or some small school.
Yeah,
or whatever
Chattanooga.
Right, Chattanooga, that's what it was. Tennessee Chattanooga. Went to a small school. He was never supposed to be this. He played with Jerry Rice. He took the torch from Jerry Rice. He ain't handed it to him. Because remember, Jerry Rice went to Oakland after that. He took the torch from Jerry Rice. You know, and became one of our greatest. So I think he definitely being able to go up there and see. My point is, your speech can do more than you not going there.
Yeah.
You could write a speech so bad that it would destroy everybody. It could be from Donovan to Jeff Garcia to Rome to any media, anybody. And you can destroy anybody with your speech. So I think that would be more powerful than him not going.
Yeah, I'm definitely right there with you. I was looking forward to the Terrell Owens speech. I was like, I wonder what direction he gonna go in with this speech. Is he gonna go the Michael Jordan route? Like Michael Jordan was out there with all the petty. Like I was like, it's Terrell.
He was on it. He was on it.
I'm like, is Terrell Owens like? First of all, Michael Jordan invited the dude who got picked over him in high school to go to his Hall of Fame ceremony. Like the amount of petty.
Just so they can put the camera on you and let them know who you is.
Yeah, the amount of petty out of Michael Jordan is crazy. But that amount of like competitiveness is what made him so great. And that's why his speech will never be forgotten, man. But I thought Terrell Owens could have that same type of speech where it's everything comes out. You know it's going to be emotional. He's going to make you laugh, going to make you cry. Because you mentioned the tough upbringing that he had. Along with the tough upbringing, going to a small school, coming from that small school, and then being under the shadow of Jerry Rice. And then in Jerry Rice's last game, if I remember correctly, for the 49ers, Terrell Owens breaks the record for catches in a game. Like
20, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, 20 catches. In Jerry Rice's last game, Terrell Owens had 20 catches. When you say somebody took the torch, my man snatched the torch from Jerry Rice.
Right.
So Terrell Owens, man, like you mentioned, top 3 in yards, top 3 in touchdowns, I believe top 6 in receptions.
Okay.
If that's first ballot, if that's not first ballot, then what is? And
what else do you do? You know what I mean?
No, and I've seen some people make the argument that he didn't win a Super Bowl. You can't make that argument for wide receivers. There's too much outside of their control on a football field to hold a wide receiver to the standard of, oh, you don't have a Super Bowl. And plus, the Super Bowl that he played in, he balled out coming off a broken ankle.
And he did everything in his power to win.
Yes. Like, you can't hold that against him, especially any wide receiver, any skill position besides quarterback. And even quarterbacks is hard because you still don't play defense. In football,
right, it's different.
Yeah, like I was saying, it's not like basketball. Basketball, you can make the rings argument because a player can have such a big impact on both ends of the floor. But in football, even the greatest running back of all time, I consider Barry Sanders the greatest running back of all time, he couldn't help the Lions win, even as great as he was. You have to have that team. It's the biggest team sport out there. And if you don't have that team around you, no matter how good you are as an individual, you may be able to carry a team to the playoffs, maybe. Like Barry Sanders did a couple times with the Lions. But you're not going to win championships without a good team, like a great team with good pieces. So I can't have that argument. Like, you come to me with that argument, like, it doesn't make sense at all. So there's no reason why Terrell Owens shouldn't have been first ballot. So I understand why he's upset, but I'm with you. I was looking forward to that speech. I was like, this speech going to be awesome. Either way, like, if you'd have came and, like, tried to be above it all, he still would have threw little jabs in there. I was looking forward to that. Like, I was looking forward to the pettiness of a Terrell Owens speech. Hopefully we still get one. Knowing him, he's going to have his own private thing where he airs the speech on, like, social media or something. So we probably still don't get that speech, but I would love to see it in Canton in front of all those people, especially all the people that don't like him, that didn't want him in the Hall of Fame. That would have been awesome to see. So I think we're on the same page on that one. Now, let's take a hard turn. We don't talk much, about hockey on this show. But the Washington Capitals, they did win the Stanley Cup, which means that one of the greatest hockey players in the world, Alexander Ovechkin, finally got that load off his back, finally got that championship. And he was on the list that we're about to talk about. He was one of those athletes who was great but didn't have a championship. So with him winning the championship, Who do you think is the best current athlete, any sport, who does not have a championship?
Chris Paul. Got to go with Chris Paul, man. And a lot of it. So at first I wanted to say, well, you can't say nothing about it. Like, it's not his fault. Some of them he's just lost, right? But he has been one of the most unfortunate injury at the wrong time players that I have ever seen. Whether it was the beginning of the playoffs, the middle of the playoffs, the end of the regular season, the middle of the regular season. We arguably talk about Chris Paul being one of the best point guards ever played the game. How smart he is. Some of them shots he hit against Golden State were ridiculous. He controls the game. He puts you in position to score. He's told people, he's apologized to some of his own players when he didn't put the ball in the right place, but they still hit the shot. They're like, no, it's okay. He's like, no, that's not what you like. You like it in your barrel or whatever the case may be. So I think him, man, he had a heck of a career. He's gonna go down as, man, arguably top 5 point guard of all time. And the way that it's looking now, you can't guarantee anything. You never know what may happen. He may go down without a ring, and by him not having one right now, that's a lot to take in. But one thing about it, he's always been in the West. I think if you want to get critical, NBA might have took a ring from him when they wouldn't let him go to the Lakers.
Yeah,
so, hey, I think it's him though, man. In my opinion, it's definitely him, man.
Yeah, I actually put Chris Paul as well. Just to add to your point, man, he's a 9-time All-Star. He's led the league in assists 4 times, led the league in steals 6 times, been selected to all NBA teams 8 times, was Rookie of the Year, and still to this day averages 19 points per game, 10 assists, and 2.3 steals for his career, which is absolutely nuts. And I do believe he should have an MVP. 2008,
right.
They gave the not finals, but NBA MVP to Kobe Bryant. And Kobe had a great year. They had a good team that year. They went on to the finals. They lost to the Celtics. Chris Paul led the New Orleans Hornets to the 2nd seed in the Western Conference. He averaged 21 points a game, 11 assists, over 2 steals. Led the league in assists and steals that season. And carried a team that was not in the playoffs the year before to the 2nd seed.
Yeah.
He should have an MVP.
David West, right?
Yeah, it was him, David West in that squad, Tyson Chandler, Peja Stojakovic. I believe Morris Peterson was our shooting guard.
Yeah.
Good squad.
I agree.
And that he should have got MVP that year. When you have MVP, it moves your ranking up so much more, when you think about the all-time rankings. But I definitely agree with you on Chris Paul. Some other athletes I'll throw out there. Adrian Peterson. I don't know if he's still considered active. I know he's still trying to be active. But he's somebody who you have to throw in that conversation. Over 2,000 yards in the season. One of the few running backs in history to get an MVP award. Just an absolute beast. He didn't work out for my Saints, but it's all right. He just wasn't meant for him to be with the Saints. Somebody else who I'll throw out there, man. There's a lot of players who don't have championships who you're like, man, how did they not get one? Or how...
Right.
Carmelo is somebody who right now you might not throw him in that conversation right now at this moment because he didn't have a good year for the Thunder, but you think about his career as a whole, my man was a scoring monster, man, machine. And I think he made some wrong moves along the way. Like, if he'd have stayed in Denver, I think maybe he gets a championship. But
I think his biggest mistake was when he chose the money to stay in New York instead of coming to Chicago.
That's a very good point. Joakim Noah came to him like, hey, you about the championship life?
and it's funny because during the whole summer, everybody kept saying Carmelo to the Bulls is the best fit. If he wants to win, he'll go to the Bulls. If he wants to win, he'll go to the Bulls.
And that's the crazy thing is, that was before the emergence of Jimmy Butler. So you would have had Derrick Rose, emerging Jimmy Butler with Carmelo. Yeah, that would have been Joakim Noah was a defensive player of the year candidate at that time. Yeah, that would have been a nasty squad. So you have any other people that came to mind for you?
Let me see. Current. I think Larry Fitzgerald not getting one, that's going to be real impactful. But he's never really had a team. But his numbers he put up are ridiculous. He's going to be first ballot, of course, because he didn't have any problems with the media.
Yeah, definitely first ballot.
That's probably about it. I'm trying to think about somebody in baseball.
Oh, Mike Trout?
I can't really think about. Oh, see, the thing with Mike Trout is it's still early for him.
Yeah.
But if he stay in the Angels, he ain't got to worry about it. He's gonna be on that list.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm not even the biggest baseball fan, but everything I hear about Mike Trout is that he's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. But we never see him in the playoffs. Like when I watch baseball, it's in the playoffs, and we never see him there. And that's when you should definitely see the stars come out. Like we're going to know. Like I know a lot more about Bryce Harper because he's made a few playoffs, and of course the hair and all that stuff helps as well. But with Bryce Harper, I know about him because of his playoff appearances and the Washington team being more of a contender than the L.A. Angels of Anaheim. So
it's one of them. It's one of them second team in L.A. type of things. You know, they're in L.A., but it's Anaheim, which isn't really L.A. But the Dodgers are overlooking them. San Francisco is going to be bigger than them all the time. So it's always one of those issues. Yeah,
true. This is a discussion you could have, man. Especially when you talk about, you go from current players to past players, then the whole conversation opens up. Of course, when you talk about basketball, all those players from the '90s that Jordan kept from getting championships. So
it's a lot of people was mad at him.
Yeah, very true. A lot of people was mad at Jordan, but hopefully Chris Paul gets one, man. Because I felt so bad when I saw him grab his hamstring during Game 5. I was like, oh
man, that was sad, man. That was sad.
It's like you said, he was balling out in that series, man, and he was the reason they stayed in it. Because James Harden struggled through a lot of series. Went through a period where he missed over 20 plus threes in a row. So when you have your star, the All-Star, the MVP struggling like that, Chris Paul came through and unfortunately got hurt again. But maybe next year.
Speaking of that, sometimes that make me wish that the awards went into the postseason, right? Because James Harden wouldn't be my MVP anymore.
Oh.
But because of it's the regular season MVP, I give it to him, no problem. But the way he played in the playoffs, like he had big first games, and every game went down except that that game when he had against Golden State, I think it was Game 7. But it still wasn't a great game. So it's I don't know, man. I don't know.
No, that's a very good point because now, especially with the way they do it now, like they used to give the award out during the playoffs, but now since they have this award show, it gives us more time to think about it, watch the playoffs, and see like. Man, maybe this guy isn't like last year. Russell Westbrook had a great season with the triple-double, but came playoff time, we saw the deficiencies in his game. And I was like, now we it's over a month later when he got the MVP. And the thing that was fresh in our minds was him losing to Houston, not being able to do much in the playoffs.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that, man. If it was a full season MVP, then probably LeBron would get it. Or somebody from Golden State.
I was definitely gonna say LeBron, and regardless to one of my biggest things with LeBron is they always compare him to Mike, and I really don't like that. I don't like he controls the narrative, which is an even bigger thing. I just like him to play basketball, and I can recognize greatness. He's great, one of the greatest players we've ever played. If they had gave it to him at the end of the season, LeBron would have been unanimous. Man, come on, man, look what dude did. Man.
Yeah, you're right, because what he did in the playoffs. What he did in the finals, even playing through the hand injury, you would have to give him MVP, man. It's ridiculous what he's doing, and look forward to seeing what he does this offseason. So now it's time for us to get into a little sports trivia. This is where I like to challenge the guests and the people listening at home. And I always ask questions about the guest's favorite team. So we're going to have some Chicago-based questions. Are you ready for sports trivia, sir?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so question number 1. How many players on the 95-96 Chicago Bulls averaged over 10 points per game? Was it A, 2, B, 3, C, 4, or D, 5? Let me get to you one more time. How many players on the 95-96 Chicago Bulls averaged over 10 points per game? Was it 2, 3, 4, or 5 players?
We'll go with B, 3.
That is correct. Yes, it was 3 players who averaged over 10 points per game. Of course, Jordan, who had 30.4, Pip, who had 19.4, and Kukoc, who was 6th man of the year that year.
Yeah.
13.1 points per game. All right, off to a good start. Question number 2, we're going to go a little football. Who holds the record for receptions in a single season for the Chicago Bears? Is it A, Marty Booker, B, Matt Forte, C, Brandon Marshall, or D, Martellus Bennett? Let me give it to you one more time. Who holds the record for receptions in a single season for the Chicago Bears? A, Marty Booker, B, Matt Forte, C, Brandon Marshall, or D, Martellus Bennett?
That's a good one because I know Marty had that big 2 or 3 years, but B. Marshall came here and consistently got over 100 catches. I'm going with B. Marshall.
Correct again. Yes, Brandon Marshall in 2012 had 118 catches for over 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Brandon Marshall is one of those players you could add to that list that we were talking about earlier. Like, when you think about Brandon Marshall's career, like, my man had some monster years.
Yes.
Like,
especially before he came to the Bears in Denver, dude. He was ridiculous, man.
Yes, like that 1,500-yard year isn't something that's like an admiration. Like, he had like a good 3-4 year period where he was just doing that. Like, that was normal for him.
Exactly.
For question number 3, we're gonna do a little baseball. Which batter holds the record for strikeouts in a single season for the Chicago Cubs? Is it Chris Bryant, Sammy Sosa, Corey Patterson, or Carlos Pena? I'll get to it one more time. Which batter holds the record for strikeouts in a single season for the Chicago Cubs? Chris Bryant, Sammy Sosa, Corey Patterson, or Carlos Pena?
I'm gonna go with Carlos Pena.
That's a good guess, but incorrect. The correct answer is Chris Bryant. Yes, in 2015, Chris Bryant had 199 strikeouts that year.
Yeah, that I'm thinking about it, you're absolutely correct. And what'll throw you off is because he still had a great batting average and he still had a lot of home runs and RBIs. I remember the year, but that's what'll throw you off because his other numbers were there. And when you think of a strikeout person, you're thinking, okay, the average isn't there. They don't have many RBIs or on-base percentage, but his numbers were still there.
Yeah, now he's definitely a really good hitter. Like, it seemed like either he was going for broke or he's going to hit it.
Right.
All right, for question number 4, we're going to go back to basketball. Who was the second leading scorer on the 94-95 Chicago Bulls? Now, of course, this is the year that Jordan was gone playing baseball. So, of course, Scottie Pippen was the leading scorer. But who was the second leading scorer? Was it B.J. Armstrong, Tony Kukoc, Pete Myers, or Horace Grant? I'll get to you one more time. Who was the second leading scorer on the 94-95 Chicago Bulls? Was it B.J. Armstrong, Tony Kukoc, Pete Myers, or Horace Grant?
I think that was Kukoc's first year, so I think it was Pete Myers.
Good guess. Pete Myers did get a good average that year, but the correct answer is Horace Grant. Yes.
It was too obvious. That's why I didn't want to pick Horace Grant.
Horace Grant, man, was averaging a double-double that year. A lot of people forget about Horace Grant and what he was able to do from that mid-range. He averaged 15 points per game and 11 rebounds that season.
Yeah, I remember, too. I just didn't want to go with it because it's too much like, if it's not Scotty, of course it's Horace Grant.
Definitely. So now let me just recap the questions for the people. Question number 1 was, how many players on the 95-96 Chicago Bulls averaged over 10 points per game? It was 3. Jordan, Pippen, and Kukoc. Question number 2, who holds the record for receptions in a single season for the Chicago Bears? It's Brandon Marshall, who in 2012 had 118 catches. Question number 3, which batter holds the record for strikeouts in a single season for the Chicago Cubs? Chris Bryant, who had 199 in 2015. And question number 4, who was the second leading scorer on the 94-95 Bulls? Or 93-94, excuse me. 93-94 is the year he was gone for the whole year. Of course, Jordan came back later in 95. But 93-94 is the year I was talking about. Sorry about that. And that was Horace Grant, who had 15 and 11 that season. Shout out to Horace Grant, man. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you for being a good sport during sports trivia. Did you make it out alive?
Yeah, I think I did.
So now it's time for us to do Forgotten Players. Now, Forgotten Players is where we pay homage to players who may have been good but not great, great but not recognized, or players who you may have just forgotten about who we want to remind you of. Who is your forgotten player today?
Jamal Lewis.
That's a very good pick.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons he don't get mentioned with the greats is because at the tail end of his career, he went to Cleveland. But just look up. Let's first give up the fact that he had 2,000 yards rushing. We know what kind of feat that is. That does not happen. Like, it's 6 or 7 players that's done it. So that's not something that's just a walk in the park.
Definitely.
We talking about Jamal Lewis, who and I read an article about him. He didn't run out of bounds. He on his shoulder trying to run over you. He went to, he had to go to jail for a few months, so he missed that year, came back and had 1,300 yards, and he came with 2,000. Then he dropped off, tailed off because he was a little hurt. He had 1,000 yards. I think the following year, he played 15 games. However, I remember reading it. He was hurt throughout most of the season. He had 900 yards. Came back, had 1,100 that following year. First year in Cleveland, had 13. Started telling off 1,000, then 500, because by that time, he's in his 30s. He's got a lot of injuries. I think now he's battling CTE. But the reason I bring him up, man, because I don't ever hear anything about Jamal Lewis. And we talk about a running back that had 2,000 yards. He won a championship with Baltimore. And he was the catalyst behind it, because you remember Guilford was their quarterback at the time, right? So who wasn't passing the ball? It was defense and running it. Field position and running it. Let our defense get out there, do what it do, and run it. Man, he put up some numbers. Man, he got 10,000 yards over his career. Of course, he could have had more. But I still read about him to this day of what he's going through. He's actually getting back on his business. It's going well. He's here in Atlanta. He's from Atlanta, some of the grimiest parts of Atlanta, and was able to make it out and to do what he's done and accomplish what he accomplished. I never hear him talked about, but I definitely want to give him a shout out, and definitely think that he should be talked about as, a good running back, and, remember him as being one of the great running backs.
That's a very good pick, man, because my grandfather is a Baltimore Ravens fan. So I remember watching those games, early 2000s, the year 2000 when they won a Super Bowl, and they would literally win games 7-6, 9-6, and there was, Jamal Lewis just carrying the load, making sure that the defense wasn't out there too long. Every once in a while, you'll see a pass to old Shannon Sharp. It was literally, you get a little play action. Dilford, throw a little hitch out there to Shannon, and they'll do something from there, and they'll try to get that, a little points on the board here and there. He definitely carried the load. A lot of running backs from that era are forgotten. Somebody who, like the Saints, Deuce McAllister, around that same time, somebody who just carried the load for us for a long time. And
he put up numbers too.
Yeah, put up great numbers. Still has the record for, yards in a single season for the Saints with over 1,600. And we just ran his knees into the ground. Back then we had Aaron Brooks. So he wasn't passing the ball too much. So yeah, running backs like that, man, we got to remember them because they gave a lot on that field. Now, for my forgotten player, go ahead.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to give a shout-out to my other forgotten player. I was going to mention him, but I just thought about Jamal, who actually was my favorite basketball player growing up. That was Kevin Johnson, man. A lot of people don't mention him, but, man, he had 3 straight seasons of 20 points a game, and if I'm not mistaken, it was 10 or 12 assists, which only a couple people has done. And, man, I had to give him a shout-out, man. I had to.
Nah, he was a very good player. Had one of the most famous dunks of all time. One of the few people who ever dunked on a king.
You know it.
So, yeah, shout out to both of them, man. My forgotten player, I went basketball as well. I went with somebody who, his impact on his team, I think, is forgotten. This guy was somebody who, you think of the younger people probably think of LeBron when they think of chase down blocks. But this man had chase down blocks before LeBron. And Reggie Miller probably still seeing this guy in his dreams. Talking about Tayshaun Prince.
Oh, yes.
Tayshaun Prince, 6'9", small forward, super long. He was the 23rd overall pick in the 2002 draft out of Kentucky to the Detroit Pistons and was a major part of a very successful run for the Pistons. You think about those years, it's in the early to mid-2000s for them. They were the Eastern Conference Finals every year. Made the 2 finals. Had this shocking upset over the Lakers with Shaq Kobe, Gary Payton, Karl Malone. His versatility on defense has definitely helped him a lot. That 04 Pistons team may be the greatest defensive team of all time when you really think about it. And a lot of that had to do with him. And not only did he give you defense, he was over there during those years in Detroit. He's giving you 14 points a game, shooting over 35% from three, along with that great defense. He's was selected to 4 all-defensive teams. Someone who played in the league for, let me see here, he played in the league for 14 years. So, like, very long career. Somebody who, like I said, is underrated because his impact on the team was so major, but he didn't have, like, the gawky points per game averages, but everything else he did was massive. So, big shout-out to Tayshaun Prince, Jamal Lewis, and Kevin Johnson, as we had multiple forgotten players today. Man, I hope you had a good time doing the show today, man.
Absolutely. I definitely did. Another shout-out for Tayshaun Prince being possibly the reason that they never drafted Carmelo.
That's true. That's true. Like, Darko owes his rings that he got right, his ring that he has right now, to Tayshaun Prince. So, before we get out of here, man, please tell the people where they can find the 3-Point Conversion Sports Lounge one more time, and you on social media.
Again, you can find me on social media at Dennis Pendleton on Facebook. And you can also find me on Instagram at that's Kane _shot_city. Again, that's Kane, Kane_shot_city. And you can meet me there at Twitter also with Kane _shot_city. So you can find the 3-Point Conversion every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch us, of course, on Facebook, our Facebook page, the 3-Point Conversion. You can also find us on 1100 WWWE AM 1100. That's just the station if you're here in Atlanta. You got the station app. It's also the WWWE AM 1100 iHeartRadio app. WWWE AM 1100. Make sure you hit the local and go to cities because some people have problems finding them. The TuneIn app is going to be the same, WWWE AM 1100, and iRadio now, WWWE AM 1100. So check us out, all your listeners, and follow us and just listen to some of the best sports you got, along with Damian. We got other things going on, the 3-Point Conversion taking over.
Definitely. If you're not following the 3-Point Conversion on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, you're doing it wrong. We out here, we everywhere, you know. Mr. Controversy out there today interviewing Trey Young at private workouts. Like, we got access out here. The 3-Point Conversion is definitely doing it big and looking to do it bigger. So go ahead and make sure you follow now before we get too big and it seems like you doing it for the wrong reasons. All right? But definitely enjoyed having you on the show, man. You're one of the best guests I've had. Very knowledgeable. That's why I love listening to the 3-Point Conversion Sports Lounge every Saturday morning with you and Mr. Controversy. And always bring that real sports talk for the real sports fan here on The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Make sure you follow me at The Real Deal WDA, and that's on all platforms. That's The Real Deal, W as in whiskey, D as in Delta, A as in Alpha on all platforms. And subscribe to The Real Deal with Damian Adams and share with your friends. Don't be selfish. If you like the show, let people know about it, all right? Until next time, go real or go home.